Have you ever walked into a room in your home, looked around at all the shelves, the furniture, the boxes tucked away in the corners, and felt a quiet heaviness? Not just from the dust or the weight of the objects themselves, but from the memories they carry. Every plate, every picture frame, every piece of furniture has a story. Maybe it was bought with your first paycheck. Maybe it was a gift from a loved one long gone. Maybe it sat at the center of your home during holidays when the house was full of laughter. For many seniors, these objects aren't just things. They are pieces of identity, tokens of history, and reminders of a life well lived. And yet, here's the hard part: sooner or later, every one of us faces the same question. What happens to all of this when I'm no longer here to care for it? It's a question that creeps quietly into the back of the mind. Sometimes we push it away because the answer feels uncomfortable, even painful. We want to believe our children, grandchildren, or friends will treasure everything the way we do. We want to think that these possessions will carry on the story of our lives. But here is the reality, and I need to be honest with you. After 70, most people around you stop caring about the piles of possessions you've built up. The truth is, they live differently now. Homes are smaller. Styles have changed. And what felt precious to you might feel like clutter to them. I know that sounds harsh. It might even sting a little. But sometimes the truths we resist the most are the ones that set us free. Because once we face them, once we accept them, we can make choices that bring clarity, peace of mind, and even joy. And that's what this video is about. Today, we are diving into 5 harsh truths about decluttering after 70 that almost no one talks about. These aren't easy lessons, but they are powerful ones. They will help you see why your belongings often lose their importance to others, and how you can embrace freedom by holding on only to what truly matters. By the end of this video, you won't just understand decluttering as getting rid of stuff. You'll see it as an act of love for yourself and your family, a way to release unnecessary weight, to protect your well-being, and to create more space for the life you want to live right now, not someday but today. So stay with me. These 5 truths might challenge the way you've always thought about your possessions. But they also hold the key to a lighter, freer, more meaningful chapter of your golden years. Now let's get started. Point 1 of the hardest realities to face after the age of 70 is this. The people you love most, your children, your grandchildren, your close friends, usually do not want most of the things you've held on to for decades. And I know what you might be thinking. But these things are part of my life story. Surely my family will want them. Surely they'll see the value. It feels natural to assume that the china cabinet filled with dishes, the heavy oak dining table that's hosted so many Christmas dinners, or the hundreds of books on your shelves will be treasured by the next generation. But what actually happens? When the time comes, family members often look around and quietly say things like, "I just don't have space for this. It's beautiful, but it doesn't fit my lifestyle." Or sometimes they don't say anything at all, they just avoid taking it. This disconnect isn't because they don't love you. It's not because your belongings don't have meaning. It's because the world they live in now is different from the one you grew up in. Think about it. You built your home, your identity, your traditions in an era when furniture was made to last a lifetime. Solid wood, heavy fabrics, formal dining sets, collectibles displayed proudly. These things represented stability, accomplishment, even social status. But today, younger generations live differently. Many live in smaller apartments or homes where space is at a premium. They move frequently, sometimes from city to city, sometimes even country to country. They're drawn to simpler, lighter, more minimalist surroundings. They value experiences, travel, flexibility, digital connection, far more than material possessions. So while that cherrywood cabinet might remind you of decades of care and pride, to them it may simply feel like a massive object they have no place for. While your carefully collected figurines represent years of joy, to them they may look like items that gather dust. It's not that the meaning isn't real. It's just that the meaning belongs to you, not to them. And that realization can sting. It can bring disappointment, guilt, even resentment. You might feel like your life's treasures are being dismissed. But here's the deeper truth. Facing this head-on can actually set you free. When you stop expecting others to carry the emotional weight of your belongings, you give yourself permission to focus only on what matters most. Take the story of Robert, a man who had just turned 78. For decades he saved every single book he ever bought, an entire library lining the walls of his home. He always imagined his daughter would inherit them, that she would walk into her home one day with shelves filled with her father's books. But when the time came, she admitted something that crushed him at first. She read everything on a tablet. She didn't want the books, not even one box. Robert could have stayed angry. He could have felt rejected. But instead he chose a different path. He went through his collection, carefully picked one single shelf of the most meaningful titles, and wrote small notes inside the covers, why he loved the book, where he read it, what it meant to him at that point in life. His daughter gladly kept that shelf. The rest he donated to the library. And you know what? He felt peace. Because instead of burdening her with his entire collection, he gave her something personal, thoughtful, and light. That's the lesson in this truth. It's not about passing on everything you own. It's about passing on what carries your story in a way that others can truly appreciate. When you carefully choose a few treasures, a photo album, a watch, a recipe book filled with your handwriting, you give your family something they will cherish, not something they will feel guilty about storing. So yes, the harsh truth is that most of your possessions won't be wanted by your loved ones. But the gift hidden in that truth is this. You now have the freedom to choose intentionally, to decide which items tell your story best, and to let the rest go without guilt. Because in the end, your legacy is not the clutter you leave behind. It's the love, the lessons, and the memories you shared, and those don't take up any space at all. The second harsh truth about decluttering after 70 is this. Most of the possessions you've held on to for decades, the furniture, the fine china, the crystal, even the collectibles you once thought were investments, are worth far less in today's market than you probably imagine. And this truth can feel like a betrayal, because for so many years, we've been told that certain things hold their value. We were taught that quality lasts, that antiques only become more precious with time, that collections would one day be worth a fortune. So we saved, we polished, we kept them safe in cabinets and attics, waiting for the day they could either be sold or passed on as something valuable. But then reality arrives. You go to an estate sale, you call in an appraiser, or you check online marketplaces and you see something shocking. That dining room set you paid thousands for in the 1970s? It might not sell for even a few hundred today. That fine china you've protected for decades? Sometimes it won't sell at all, because so few people want to wash dishes or set a formal table anymore. That massive crystal punch bowl that dazzled at parties? Younger families may not even know what to do with it. Why does this happen? The answer is simple. Trends change, demand drops, and markets evolve. What was once considered luxury or sophistication has, in many cases, fallen out of fashion. Heavy, dark wood furniture that symbolized success in your time is now seen as old-fashioned and too bulky for modern apartments. Decorative plates, porcelain dolls, stamp collections, or figurines that once felt like treasures are now seen as dust collectors by people who prefer minimalism. The antique market itself has shrunk dramatically. Fewer young buyers are interested. Stores are overflowing with unsold inventory. And with mass production, online shopping, and fast furniture companies, the supply is endless, while the demand for old things is shrinking. But here's where psychology adds another layer. There's a term called the endowment effect. It means we naturally value things more highly simply because they belong to us. That dining table isn't just wood to you. It's where you celebrated birthdays, where you sat after work to talk with your children, where your grandchildren once drew pictures while you cooked. To you it's priceless. But to the market, it's just a second-hand piece of furniture competing with thousands of others. And this mismatch between our personal value and the market's value can feel deeply unfair. Many seniors struggle with feelings of being robbed, that the world doesn't see the worth in what they worked so hard to keep. But the truth is, the market isn't rejecting you. It's simply following new tastes, new lifestyles, and new economics. Let me share Linda's story. Linda is 81 years old. For decades, she collected decorative plates, limited editions, each with a certificate of authenticity, carefully displayed on her walls. She believed these would be passed down or sold for a good price. But when she tried to sell them, she discovered they were fetching only a few dollars apiece at estate sales. Nobody wanted to buy them. At first, she was heartbroken. She had invested money, time, and emotion into that collection. But then she did something beautiful. She chose the 5 plates that held the deepest memories, one from a trip to Paris, one from her first wedding anniversary, one she bought with her late sister, and she wrote a short note on the back of each explaining its story. She gave them to her grandchildren, not as valuable collectibles, but as keepsakes carrying her personal memories. Suddenly, what had little financial value became priceless in an emotional way. This is the lesson of truth number 2. The real value of your possessions is not measured in dollars. It's measured in meaning. The world may not pay much for your china, your furniture, your collectibles, but that doesn't mean they are worthless. It simply means their value has shifted from the market to the heart. So instead of holding on to items in the hope of making money one day, choose to redefine their worth. Ask yourself, is this worth more sitting in a cabinet, or would it mean more in the hands of someone I love, or in the hands of someone who will actually use it? By seeing clearly that most things have lost their market value, you free yourself from the illusion that your belongings are a financial safety net. You stop clinging to the what if, and you begin to make choices based not on money, but on memory, meaning, and the peace of letting go. If there's one reason people struggle the most with decluttering, it isn't the money or the market. It's the heart. It's sentiment. Because let's be honest, the hardest things to let go of aren't the big heavy sofas or the dishes nobody uses anymore. It's the box of letters you've kept since your 20s. It's the sweater that still smells faintly of your late husband's cologne. It's the stack of Mother's Day cards written in your children's handwriting from decades ago. These are not just objects. They are anchors to people, to places, to moments you can't get back. For many seniors, sentimental items are a lifeline to memory. They represent love, joy, laughter, but also loss, grief, and longing. A vase may remind you of your mother's kitchen. A photograph may take you back to your wedding day. An old toy may bring back the sound of a child's laughter echoing down the hallway. These items feel like fragments of life itself, as though if you let them go, you'll somehow let go of the memory, or worse, the person tied to it. But here's the harsh truth. Over time, sentimentality can become a burden. When there are just a few cherished items, they feel precious. But when every drawer, every shelf, every closet is filled with keepsakes, the weight grows heavier. What once brought comfort begins to bring overwhelm. Research on seniors and clutter, lenaweseniors.org, shows that holding on to too many sentimental objects often backfires. Instead of protecting memories, it creates stress and guilt. You begin to feel trapped by the past, unable to fully enjoy the present. And instead of a home filled with joy, you find yourself surrounded by clutter that makes life harder to navigate. Amada Senior Care points out something important. As we age, decision fatigue increases. Every object becomes a question. Should I keep this? Should I give it away? What if I regret it later? And the more items you have, the more exhausting those decisions become. The delay only makes it worse, because the older you get, the harder it feels to sort, organize, and let go. And let's not forget the practical side. Clutter creates real safety hazards. Walkways become narrower. Piles collect on the floor. Excess furniture makes it difficult to maneuver with a cane or walker. Amada Senior Care warns that clutter increases the risk of trips and falls, which for seniors can mean serious injury, hospitalization, or a permanent loss of independence. What began as an emotional comfort can slowly turn into a physical danger. Here's an example. Mary, age 82, lost her husband 10 years ago. She kept everything of his, every shirt, every book, every tool in the garage. At first it felt like she was preserving his memory, but over time the closets overflowed. The garage became impassable. She began tripping over boxes just to get to the laundry machine. One day, she nearly fell carrying groceries because she had to weave around a pile of his old jackets. That's when her daughter gently said, "Mom, Dad isn't in those jackets. He's in your stories. He's in us." Mary didn't get rid of everything. She kept one jacket, his favorite fishing coat, and a few small items with deep meaning. The rest she donated. And she admitted later, "I didn't lose him by letting go. I found space for myself again." That's the key lesson here. Sentimental items are beautiful reminders, but too many can chain you to the past and weigh down the present. The goal isn't to strip away every memory. It's to curate, to choose carefully what truly carries your story. Maybe it's one album instead of 10 boxes of photos. Maybe it's one recipe handwritten in your notebook instead of shelves of unused cookbooks. Maybe it's one piece of jewelry you wear often instead of 20 tucked away. By limiting sentimentality to what matters most, you free yourself from burden and create a home that still tells your story, but also supports your safety, your health, and your peace of mind. Because in the end, your memories live inside you, not inside a closet. The people you've loved are honored by the life you continue to live, not by the piles of things you hold onto out of guilt. And when you let go of the excess, you create room not just in your home, but in your heart, to enjoy the moments you still have. Here's a truth that is often brushed aside. Clutter isn't just about too much stuff lying around. It's not only a matter of housekeeping or neatness. The impact goes much deeper. Clutter touches your mental health, your physical health, and even your relationships. And for seniors, the consequences can be far more serious than most people recognize. Let's start with mental and emotional health. Researchers have found that a cluttered environment directly increases stress hormones in the body, particularly cortisol. When your living space is crowded with papers, clothes, keepsakes, and furniture you rarely use, your brain doesn't just see stuff. It processes each item as another demand, another unfinished decision. This constant, silent pressure fuels anxiety, creates restlessness and drains focus. Instead of feeling peaceful in your own home, you may feel tense without even realizing why. One study published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology (PMC) showed that people who described their homes as cluttered reported higher levels of fatigue and depression compared to those who described their homes as restful or restorative. That's no small thing, especially for older adults who need calm, not chaos, to support their overall well-being. Now let's talk about the physical risks. What might seem like harmless piles of boxes, extra chairs squeezed into corners, or stacks of magazines saved for later can quickly become dangerous obstacles. According to Amada Senior Care, falls are the #1 cause of injury among older adults, and clutter is often a hidden culprit. An out-of-place footstool, a slippery rug layered over another rug, or a hallway narrowed by old furniture can create tripping hazards that younger people might maneuver around but seniors may not. And the consequences of a fall at 75 or 80 are far more serious than at 30. You're not just talking about a bruise, but possibly a broken hip, loss of independence, or a long recovery in rehab. Decluttering isn't just about creating space. It's about creating safety, reducing risks that could alter the rest of your life. Then there's the social impact. This is a piece many people don't think about until it's already happening. Cluttered homes often become closed homes. You may start to feel embarrassed to have company over, whether it's friends, neighbors, or even your own grandchildren. Shame about the state of the house can quietly turn into isolation. Instead of enjoying connection, laughter, and visits that keep you young at heart, clutter keeps you stuck inside your own walls. Balance through simplicity, a lifestyle resource, notes that clutter doesn't just take up physical space. It robs you of opportunities for connection, joy, and hospitality. For seniors where loneliness is already a growing concern, this can compound into serious emotional struggles. And here's a deeper truth. Clutter steals energy. Every time you walk past that box you haven't opened in years, every time you see the overstuffed closet or the dining table covered with papers, a small part of your mind whispers, "You should deal with this." That whisper adds up to mental exhaustion. Instead of feeling light and free in your home, you feel heavy and stuck. And that heaviness often spills into other areas: motivation, self-care, even sleep quality. The good news? The moment you start clearing space, even one drawer, one box, one corner, you begin to feel the difference. Less anxiety, more ease. Fewer trip hazards, more confidence moving around. Less embarrassment, more joy in welcoming others. Decluttering isn't about losing. It's about gaining back your health, safety, and peace of mind. Let's be honest. Letting go is one of the hardest parts of decluttering. Every object feels like a story, a memory, or a piece of your identity. That blanket your mother crocheted, the china set from your wedding, the photos tucked in albums, even the tools in the garage that might come in handy. They all hold meaning. So when we talk about releasing these items, it can feel like we're erasing parts of our lives. But here's the shift. You're not just losing objects, you're gaining freedom. Every item you release is a burden lifted. It's one less box to trip over, one less drawer to feel guilty about, one less pile reminding you of things undone. The more you let go, the more you gain. Mental clarity, emotional peace, physical safety, and a sense of control over your own environment. Instead of your possessions owning you, you reclaim ownership of your life and your home. And here's something deeply important for seniors. Decluttering is not just about tidying up, it's about defining your legacy. What story do you want your home to tell about your life? What treasures do you want passed down? And what do you want people to remember you for? When you intentionally choose a handful of items that truly represent your values, your journey, your love, you create a clearer legacy for your family. Rather than leaving them with the overwhelming task of sorting through decades of accumulation, you leave them with clarity, with meaningful pieces that speak to who you were. That's an incredible gift. There are also practical, gentle ways to navigate this process. For example, digitize old photos so you can keep the memories without keeping every single album. Many services or even a smartphone can make this easy. Select a few special items, your favorite teacup instead of the entire china set, one or two tools instead of the entire collection, a single handmade quilt rather than the whole stack. Donate or gift the rest. Imagine the joy of a young couple using your dining table, or a student starting out with the pots and pans you no longer need. Your belongings don't disappear. They get a new chapter. Letting go can also be an act of spiritual and emotional release. Over time, holding on to too much just in case weighs down the heart. By releasing, you practice trust that life will continue to provide, that memories live within you and the people you love, not inside objects. You create space not only in your home but in your spirit, allowing peace and lightness to take root. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it takes courage. But the reward is powerful. Decluttering becomes more than cleaning. It becomes a way of reclaiming your story, reducing your family's future burden, and stepping into a lighter, freer chapter of life. When you let go, you don't erase the past. You honor it by carefully choosing what matters most and setting the rest free. So let's take a moment to step back and recap these 5 truths we've explored together today. First, no one really wants most of your things. And that's not a rejection of you. It's simply a reflection of how lifestyles and values have shifted over time. Accepting this truth can free you from resentment and help you focus on what's truly meaningful to pass on. Second, most possessions have lost their market value. The furniture, the china, the collectibles that once seemed so valuable are often worth very little in today's world. But that doesn't make them worthless, it just means their true worth lies in the meaning you attach to them, not in the dollars they might bring. Third, sentimentality, while beautiful, can become a burden over time. Holding on to too many objects can weigh down your spirit, stir up grief, and leave you overwhelmed with clutter that makes daily living harder than it needs to be. Fourth, clutter affects your well-being more than you realize. It's not just about untidy shelves. It's about your mental clarity, your physical safety, and even your social life. A clutter-free home often leads to a lighter mind, safer movement, and more confidence in welcoming others into your space. And finally, fifth, letting go is hard, but it's also powerful.